Good evening, everyone. Great to have your company. With thanks to DLM Machinery, it is another Thursday night on Tassie Rules, Tasmania's footy show. Very shortly, we're going to be joined by Adrian Smith in the studio. He's the coach of the North Launceston Football Club. Plenty to discuss on and off the field. Of course, it's been a big adjustment for the Northern Bombers coming from the TSL, winning the premiership last year, to playing in the NTFA Premier League. But before we do catch up with him, just got a few events to let you know about that are coming up. Firstly, the Georgetown Football Club. They got a Hall of Fame reunion. This is coming up on Saturday, the 2nd of August. Now, Georgetown, well, the Saints were inducted as a legendary team a little earlier this year into the Tasmanian Football Hall of Fame. They'll be celebrating this and more, $40 per person, including lunch and drinks, so great value. Just jump onto their Facebook page and it should be a good day. They take on Rochalee at home. The Saints currently sitting 7th on the NTFA Division 1 ladder, but they are just half a win behind 5th-placed Hillwood. So that will be a fantastic day down at beautiful Blue Gum Park. The Hawks, well, they're back again. Coming up next Saturday, they take on Port Adelaide at the early time of 1:20 p.m. Huge game this. Of course, they've become two massive rivals, particularly since that famous final last year. The two clubs have built that huge rivalry, Port winning that final by 3 points. Now, this match is on the last Saturday of the school holidays as well. So, great opportunity to take the kids. Kids will go free. General admission with purchase of an adult ticket. Now, the match is also being delivered in partnership with the Road Safety Advisory Council to shine a light on all things road safety. Now, if we get a crowd of 14,000 or more, we'll actually have more than 60,000 who would have come through the gates to view Hawthorn's 4 games this year, which would be an incredible result of one of the better crowds that they've had over the course of the whole season in their 25 years in Tasmania. So should be a fantastic day. Round 19, we get towards the finals in the AFL. Now, next week as well on the show, we will have one of the Hawthorn senior players joining us. So we're looking forward to that. Someone who wishes he was on the field is Sam Draper, of course, who suffered that terrible Achilles injury earlier on in the year at Essendon, coming down to Tassie for a few days. And he's also going to be running a free kids clinic. That is next Thursday, the last Thursday in July, 31st of July, in fact. $40 for an adult, $20 for under 16s, but there will be a free kids clinic with Sam from 5 p.m. for those kids aged 7 to 16. You still need to register, and that you can find the details on the Bridport Facebook page. Of course, Sam suffered that terrible season-ending Achilles injury back in April. So looking forward to seeing Sam. He's a terrific fella as well, and will be a great night there at Bridport. All right, that is it for now. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, Adrian Smith, Senior Coach at North Launceston, will join us.
For 30 years, DLM Machinery has kept Tasmania's construction industry moving. As the sole Tasmanian distributors of Cabelco, ASV Positrax and Merlot telehandlers, we offer trusted sales, parts and service with locations in Launceston and Hobart. From excavators to telehandlers, routine maintenance to field repairs, our skilled team has you covered wherever the job takes you. DLM Machinery. Local, reliable, ready when you need us. Get in touch today.
Welcome back to Tassie Rules, Tasmania's footy show. Now, with thanks to Harrison Agents each and every week, we have a club in focus. And this week, we're delving into the North Launceston Football Club. Well, it's certainly been a year of change in top flight football in Tasmania, following the cessation, of course, of the TSL at the end of last season. Now, North Launceston, well, they won that premiership. And in fact, since 2014, have won 6 TSL premierships in that period. They had numerous players go on to play top-level football on the mainland, and also 2 of their favourite sons in Zane Littlejohn and Taylor Whitford coaching now in the VFL. The Bombers, well, they're currently sitting on top of the ladder again, this time in the NTFA Premier League, but they also have a fair bit on their mind away from playing football each and every week as well. So we thought we'd catch up for the first time on the show with their senior coach, Adrian Smith. It's been good enough to join us. Good to see you, mate. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Obviously, footy on your mind, but enjoying a little bit of a break from work.
Yeah, it's nice sometimes to have those couple of weeks off where you get to just disconnect a little bit and perhaps maybe just focus on footy a little bit more than the work getting in the way of footy.
Sure. No, totally. A nice time to do it. Let's go back to September, firstly, last year. Grand final day, another great celebration for your club. Got a photo there, obviously, after the siren, and you personally leading the Bombers to the final State League Premiership. And it was a great game. Like it was a really good contest right up until the end. When you reflect now, 9 months later, do you personally feel it was the right decision for the TSL? We knew it was going to stop, but particularly given we haven't had the VFL progress as it was supposed to this year, do you think it was the right move to still move forward with the plan this year?
Yeah, you sort of those photos on the board there. You look at it and you go, wow, the memories that were last year. And at the end of the day, I think it's, the TSL is a good brand, and our footy club went through a fair bit last year, and the player buy-in, understanding of what it meant to be playing at the top level was sensational. And at the end of the day, the mental load that went into that final series, and like you said, it was a ripping grand final, was justified our season. And it's probably one of those history-making years. At the end of the day, not too many teams have that sort of 20-0 perfect record. Considering where we were at the start of the year to where we ended up, it probably took a lot of people by surprise. The question around the TSL, I think personally, I love the TSL.
Yeah.
What it did for our young people and our inspiring footballers was fantastic. I get the direction that they're going with the Devils and the understanding of what the Devils football means for Tasmania. And, as soon as we get our footy team going, the better. But in terms of community footy, that's where we're heading. There's still a lot of work to do to get that model working properly. Obviously, there's 3 different challenges in each of the different regions at the moment with not having a TSL.
Sure. Look, I mentioned that since 2014, North Launceston won 6 TSL premierships. In that time as well, we had Launceston win 3. So 9 of the last 11 TSL premierships from Northern clubs. So it's obviously pretty plain to see that the biggest adjustment for now former TSL clubs are for you guys and Launceston going into the NTFA. As a coach, how did you approach the off-season? Because obviously a lot of challenges. You've got players that still want to play at a higher level that have obviously, with no VFL, have moved into state for opportunities, and you can't deny them that. But what have you focused on and working on for this next step as a club?
Yeah, both our footy clubs, Launceston and us, have had terrific cultures over a period of time. We've had massive rivalries of our own, to be honest with you, but we've had the cultures where we've developed talent and obviously had it as programs, all the way from our juniors all the way through where our kids are training a certain way and having those fundamentals ingrained into them to produce really good senior footballers. I think one of the things that we focused on over summer was the thing I was surprised about, I suppose, was the connection and buy-in to the program, to the club. Players wanted to stay because they loved playing for the football club. Each of the players that branched off into different challenges went for mostly lifestyle and family reasons, and then football was a bonus to that. Ideally they'd probably still be playing with us if it wasn't for some of those other challenges around that. So from our point of view, whilst it was hard to recruit because people didn't want to come to our football club because of the success, which I found really quite interesting. Ultimately, the players that stayed for the right reasons. They wanted to be here. And I know Jeremy has been really good, Webley that is, around selling the dream of the VFL program. And he had some really good conversations with our players towards the back end of last year, which sold the dream and the narrative around these academy games this year and the Tri-Series games and what that would mean for VFL football into 2026. So a lot of our players bought into that, but they also just love playing for North and they wanted to stay and be a part of our culture and our success going forward.
There's a lot happening at your club because it's not just on the footy field. York Park or UTAS Stadium.
Yep.
Do you believe it'll be your home ground after, from 2028? Because there's obviously a lot of debate going on. The politicians on both sides are getting heavily involved. But where are things at the moment from your understanding as a club?
As a club, our footy club's really been on the forefront of this, trying to push it to be at York Park. That's our home base. Into the future, obviously, footy landscape's changing quickly. We're going to have a Devils program. We're going to have VFL, AFLW, AFL, VFLW. So there's going to be a whole lot more football based out of York Park. I still believe North Launceston will have a home there in some capacity. The whole precinct is an amazing precinct. And obviously all we need to do now is just top up with that new club room facility for North Launceston and we'll have our home base there in some capacity. And I think what will eventually happen will be some sort of blended model, just around York Park, Invermay, and that whole precinct continuing to be redeveloped for longer term. Because obviously with more AFL and AFLW content in Tasmania is going to have to be played somewhere, and
Mm.
it's a pretty good surface and a pretty good arena to be playing good footy there. So I think we'll be based there in some capacity. How that looks post,
Yeah.
there's still a bit of work to do in that space, and hopefully our politicians and a few other of our influential people around the state
Yes.
continue to buy in and support our footy club, because it would be sad to see that history that is
Hmm.
there be lost and be moved elsewhere in the North region, because our identity has been built around Invermay and York Park facilities.
So, from outside of politics, because I mean, I couldn't fathom that. I mean, it's been your home for over a century. It's like saying North Hobart have got to leave North Hobart Oval, or Clarence have got to leave Bell Reeve. It just doesn't make sense. The support from AFL Tasmania, we've heard Peter Gutwin recently, obviously very wants to see something happen and decided soon. You're getting the support from the football hierarchy.
Yes, my understanding is yes, we are. There's lots of positive conversations. Hawley's been involved in those. Peter's been great. Our politicians have bought in. I think now it's just about trying to find solutions and some answers going forward. It may have been an oversight that we weren't included as perhaps as much as what we would have liked to be, but I think there's enough positive conversations and progression going forward with that space that there will be some solutions. It's just a matter of what is best for that precinct in that area. That I guess services our need and our need within our community, but also services the higher end football talent games that need to be played at UTAS.
Excellent. Let's take a look at the NTFA Premier League. We'll have a look at the ladder. You're 9 from 9. There you go. You're obviously far and away 2 games plus a heck of a lot of percentage clear of the rest of the field. Of course, Launceston there in second place. You've had a bit of a break and obviously coaching the rep team as well. But how do you look forward now to the rest of the season? Because obviously you've had this great 2024 in the TSL. Your winning streak is maintaining. How do you keep your players motivated when clearly looking at the ladder and results? I mean, obviously Launceston was a good test last time, but how do you keep them going?
I've said a few times now, one of the things I really value in our football club at the moment is we've got a lot of young leaders and leaders within our leadership group that are coaches in some ways. So they're really quite proud in who they are and their identity. So I think the first 5 or 6 games of the year when we played everyone for that first time was an opportunity to make some statements around this is our football, this is our brand. It's been a really interesting month or so with our football programs. We've got 2 or 3 different elements to it at the moment around VFL program, the Tri-Series, having so many players connected to those sort of games, and then obviously players that aren't connected to those spaces, trying to continue their training loads and standards. And one of the things we pride ourselves on is our training standards and how hard we train. So again, a bit of a balancing act. To be honest with you, I'm really looking forward to getting through this last state game next week where we can just have a really clear flush run at the last 6 weeks. And, we've sort of been planning how that might look for us as a footy club, but I think everyone's looking forward to just that last 6 weeks where we can really hone and train and have some consistency in our weeks, where we have our Mondays and our Wednesdays and Thursday sessions. There's routines. There's a little bit more patterns to what we do, so we can really showcase our best footy come back half the year.
And I think that's the thing I've noticed on the field as well, watching you guys, is that regardless of who you're playing, you're not changing the game style. And it's a credit to you and your coaching staff and obviously the playing group as well. I was up there at Scottsdale, obviously, that first time around where it was a massive win, but the club still played their style. And I guess it's a challenge to every other club to not necessarily play the same style, but to raise the bar and know that you're not going to come back. We want clubs to move forward, not clubs to come back. You must take a lot of pride from that clubs are looking at you.
Yeah, and that's something, like, we've got a really good coaching group and, like I said, a really good leadership group that buy into that individual development and the craft and understanding that we're required to be a good football team. We went through some changes last year when Brad moved into his AFL job, which was fantastic for him. We probably changed a few things up, changed our game style. And I'd say we play a pretty modern brand of footy. The way we move the footy is a bit different. It's hard to defend. It's fast. It's free flowing. We score well. But it's also built off really strong contest. And I think our training patterns and standards around how we defend the ground and how we defend contest is really important. And I think they're our trademarks that we make sure we pride ourselves on. And even though the competition at times has been challenging to be motivated for at times, and we know what the result's going to probably look like. Setting ourselves those individual focuses, checking those boxes around who we are and what our identity is, and making sure we don't lose sight of that and going away from our foundations has been the biggest challenge as a coaching group. I think most weeks we've been able to tick the boxes in that space. To be honest with you, we're just really looking forward to the last 6 weeks where we can, go to work and lock in on what we want to do for our back half of the year and really have a strong final series.
Just a couple of final questions. Obviously, you still have to evolve as a club, and there are challenges. You've obviously now, as part of the Premier League, had to get a women's team up and going again from absolute scratch. The under-18 space, we know that's a challenge all across the board as well.
Yeah.
So everyone looks at the top, I guess, but there are challenges.
Yeah, I think one of the things, there's two parts to that question. I'll start with the under-18. So I think if you look back through the history of North Launceston, we haven't necessarily had dominant under-18 teams. We've had a couple of periods where, we've had some exceptionally good players play through. I think one of the things that we've prided ourselves on is pushing our players to play at the highest level they can. Sam Husband this year debuting at 15 years of age. We've probably got another couple of kids that we could do that in the next coming weeks. We were going to push them forward. Under-18s last year, the competition itself around the TFL, whatever it was at the time, wasn't overly attractive, for our kids. We're a big club that services a lot of other zoned areas within it. So our under-18 pool to travel to Hobart every second week was probably not there. So it was a good decision last year, I think, from a footy club to us to pull our resources back. One of the things I'm really proud of is we've got a really good group of 16, under 14s, under 16, into under 18 coaches. They're all connected. They're all connected to our senior club. They're training the same way. They're part of our values and beliefs and all that sort of stuff that create our culture and who we are. So one of the things that, whilst we might not be getting the results, I know the development's there and there's some really talented young kids coming through that will get opportunities in the coming future. So in terms of our footy club, it's ever evolving. Our junior program's changed significantly in the last 12 months. We're going to continue to do things differently, but the standards and how we coach and develop is really is key. And obviously one of the more proud moments this year is our women's team. Emma's amazing. She's a great young leader. She's got a really good footy brain, willing to learn. She's creating a really good culture in that group. There's excellent numbers at training. They're doing it the right way. Obviously, at the moment, we probably didn't quite have the top end talent to compete as consistently with some of the more experienced and older teams. But one of the things our footy club's got at the moment is a really strong junior girls program. We've got huge talent in our 14s and under 17 space that over the next couple of years are going to filter into our pathway program now, which is our women's. Emma's culture's there. The players are buying in. It's a really good atmosphere, and it's another good branch to our football club that is just ever evolving. And it's out of that layer of success. Longer term, it's really being positive. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, it's great to hear from that sort of NTJFA space down that there is players coming through, both boys and girls. Just finally, you guys as a club, a lot of coaches have gone on to do some great stuff. We mentioned Taylor, we mentioned Zane. What about you, Adrian? Have you got aspirations? I mean, you've had great success leading this group and now leading them once again through a big change. You got personal aspirations?
Yeah, I've had that question a few times recently. Obviously, early on, I was really happy to support the Zanes and Taylors of the world. I was really heavily focused on my career in education, and that's still, priority number one, in terms of what I've got some goals in that space. And with a young family at the time, it probably wasn't necessarily a burning desire to be a senior coach. The opportunity popped into my lap, I suppose, with the Brad changing. It probably flickered a bit of a fire there, and it's burning away. In terms of aspirations, yes, I do. I do have aspirations. What that looks like, I'm not too sure yet. I think I'm just enjoying the ride at the moment at North. And obviously with our Devils and AFL stuff coming in, who knows what's around the corner. Right. A job in footy wouldn't be a bad one, I don't think, to jump into at the moment. So 100% keen to explore, but also I'm really quite happy just ticking along and helping my boys out in the junior program and obviously our senior club and helping continue to grow our northern suburb players and talent.
Well, your club's still the benchmark in, I think, in Tasmanian football, and the adjustment that you've made to obviously, last year there was a lot going on in terms of what was going to happen. It is happening, and the good thing is we've seen both yourselves and Launceston have been accepting now and move forward, and also at the same time offering that type of support universally as a collective, I guess, with the Premier League as well. Well done to you. Well done to your team. We're looking forward to the last 6-7 weeks as we make the run through to the finals. But you're doing a great job. And, let's watch your space. We're a real pleasure to have you on the show today. Thanks for being a part of it.
Appreciate having me on. Thank you.
That's all right. That's Adrian Smith joining us from the North Launceston Footy Club. Don't go anywhere. We've got a bit of a wrap-up coming up after the break.
HST Tree Specialists. We are the industry leaders in vegetation management in Tasmania. Our services include tree solutions, hazardous vegetation removal, and project consultations. We are committed to eliminating vegetation-based risk in Tasmania while being sensitive to environmental impact, with a strong focus on health and safety practices. And from large-scale government and commercial projects, small private arboriculture jobs, and equipment hire, MyTas recommends HST.
Last week, we had some great feedback on who the leading goal kickers were as a collective from all the competitions around Tasmania. So this week, we're going to look at another comp, and that's the NWFA, the Northwest Football Association. Let's have a look at the ladder as it stands currently in the seniors. The top three, it's very tight, separated by just one game, with Wesleyvale currently on top by percentage from East Ulverston. Mott and Preston third, a game back. Now, East Ulverston defeated Wesleyvale a fortnight ago in a cracking contest by 11 points. And this week, well, the match of the day is going to be up at the Preston Football Ground, starting at 2:15, where Mott and Preston will be playing host to Wesleyvale. It was actually the Wesleyvale Footy Ground last week. Fantastic night. So hello to everyone down there at Wesleyvale. We had an awesome night with Isaac Smith, the former Hawthorn and Geelong Premiership player. So great to be down there. And joining in with all the folk down at Wesleyvale was a terrific night, as I said. Let's stick with the NWFA and look at the leading goal kickers. In the reserves, we can see there Zach Ivory from fourth is on 72 goals. Very impressive. Jalen Haywood. Now, we shone his name up in lights last week. There he is, the senior goal kicking from Mott and Preston. He is on 88 goals, closing in on 100. Now, Jalen is actually currently the leading goal kicker in Tasmania across all the competitions. So, who knows? I reckon in the next couple of weeks or so, he may be heading towards that century, which would be fantastic. Got to thank a couple of people in particular. They've sent us in some wonderful photos. Firstly, to a regular, David Harding from Dave Harding Photography. He journeyed up to Campbelltown to see the Community Rep Series game where the NTFA came from 21 points down at three-quarter time to defeat the SFL. And this is a great shot here with Will Haley taking a mark for the NTFA. So thank you to Dave Harding. And this, I'm going to put the context into this. This is a ripping picture that has come into us. It's Caden Marshall immediately after kicking the winning goal in the last 10 seconds of the NTJFA under-14 match for Georgetown against East Launceston. And you think he was happy. Have a look at that, celebrating on the countdown clock, 10 seconds to go, and kicks the winner. Every player's dream to kick the winning goal, either on the siren, after the sign, or how about that, when you've got time still in the match, but you know that you've kicked the winning goal. So great photo for that one. And just finally, to wrap it up, we're going to have a look at the SFL Premier League with what's coming up this weekend. Of course, we've had a lot of rep footy over the last few weeks in the state game as well. The SFL Premier League men, Brighton at home at Pontville are going to be taking on North Hobart. Clarence and Glenorchy, two huge rivals, will be playing at Bellerive Oval, and Lauderdale taking on Kingborough. All matches this Saturday. They are starting the senior men at 1:30 p.m. And having a look at the SFL Premier League for women now, it is round 12. Lauderdale taking on Kingborough at Lauderdale. Clarence and Glenorchy also, of course, at Bellerive Oval. North Hobart have got the bye, and these matches, the two matches, will be taking place after the senior men. So opening bounce at 4 p.m. As always, if you've got any footy stories or photos that you'd like to send us in at Tassie Rules, Tasmania's Footy Show, we are all about community footy. We'd love to hear from you and see your pictures as well. But thanks very much for all of your support. Thanks for your company, and we'll catch you next week here on the show on Thursday night.